Welcome to this Dealer's Edge webinar featuring Joni Stuker with a workshop on how to generate your own sales leads by effective prospecting with your BDC and beyond. Joni Stuker is the founder and president of Owner Connect, a team of trainers that advises car dealers and other industries on ways to improve customer communication, especially in the area of handling incoming and outbound calls. Joni has been an NADA workshop leader, state association convention speaker, and has worked directly with automotive OEMs in addition to her busy schedule in retail dealerships. More recently, Joni has taken her expertise to NASCAR, the RV industry, and the resorts, amusement park, and entertainment business. I'm Mike Bowers, executive editor of Dealer's Edge. As I've said before, I've been a fan of the Business Development Center concept since I saw some of the early versions of BDCs in the late 1990s. The idea then as now was to have skilled, trained telephone sales reps doing what they do best, contacting customers and prospects to get them into the dealership. The BDC reps did the important work that the rest of the dealership staff either did not have the skills or the time to do. And one of the most important and most neglected of those functions is prospecting. For the last 10 years or so, it seems dealerships have been content to rely on website advertising and third-party lead providers for sales prospects. And that works well enough, but with a staff of trained BDC marketers, it should be more cost-effective and more productive to develop your own prospects using resources that are readily available. So let's turn to BDC expert Joni Stuker as she describes a program that you can start using today to get your business development center as a prospecting tool. Now, Joni, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, and welcome everybody. I'm real excited to be here today and to help us all start creating a better source of opportunities. I've always said that, our days are really what we make it, which is why I love BDC. And part of what we're going to go through today is not just related to a BDC department only. That's why I guess the title is such, meaning and beyond. Salespeople, sales associates, they can certainly embrace all of the word tracks and things we're going to go through because, again, it's the power of prospecting. It's just not in a BDC center. So I welcome everybody. As he mentioned, yes, I have been a consultant for 28 years in the auto industry primarily, but have had a great opportunity of working outside just our arena. And I think it's really fun to look at things like going in and training jewelry salespeople how to prospect and generate new leads and opportunities. So it reflects to any industry. It reflects to any walk of life. So we're going to do some power prospecting and enlightenment together. I hope everybody's got a pen and paper. We're going to look at how and where are the best opportunities for you to start embracing. Learn how to network your daily encounters and get the blinders off. We have in our business, we've got a high in the business and we got a low in the business. And if you're, let's say, in a sales position role, the low in the business is going a day without selling a car. I relate that also to a BDC rep. You come to work, you're setting your appointments. The low is setting an appointment that, let's say, doesn't show, or the appointment shows up and they don't buy. So we all experience some of the lows, but let's look at what the high is. In car sales, the high is coming to work and selling one vehicle, but how about two? More than one in a day. If anyone listening has ever done that, that is the most amazing 12 hours of your life because it flies by. Now let's go for BDC reps. You go to work, you're in there 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever your shift is, you're setting your appointments, and my gosh, bam, the appointment sets, it shows, and they buy. Have you ever had that happen? How about 2 or 3s in a day? That is your high. So we've got a high, we got a low. Who can control that? My feeling is it's you. It's all about you because it's a numbers game, guys. It always has been, it always will be. Prospecting is numbers. The more people that you ask, the more people that you work to develop, the more chances you'll have to succeed. So I know one thing. Are you tired of some of the ups you're receiving? I worked earlier this week in an auto dealership, and I loved this call. It was an internet lead, and the gentleman actually had a phone number. So I picked up the phone immediately and I called him. And virtually what he said to me is, hey, listen, I've got 6 other dealership prices. and I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I want your bottom line price, with every possible discount of the world, and then once you send that to me, I might maybe make an appointment with you, but I'm not promising anything. And that call just made me laugh. Now, I know a lot of you that get those are probably, want to hang up the phone, you're frustrated, but they make me laugh. I was starting to think to myself, maybe we're at a point where we should just pay people to buy our cars, okay? Because how much can we give away? So today what I want you to know is that we're going to work on finding a better opportunity. We need to catch people before they start shopping. I mean, guys, think about it. People are going online and they're clicking buttons. Half the time I don't think they even realize it. And they're shopping, say, 10, 12, 15 different websites. Oh my gosh, that's huge. On a phone app, they're calling 6 other stores and everybody's grinding for that best price. But do we ever remember that people don't drive price? They drive product. So it's really, really important that we start looking at and evaluating our time and how effectively we can use it to develop a better up. So, have you ever taken a look at gross profit, the difference between, say, an internet lead that purchases compared to a referral lead, something that's self-generated? I can tell you that my stats would say that it's a minimum of about $1,000 combined front and back end gross, up to $1,500 if you work a source that is warm. Your closing ratio is over 70% when you work a referral, which, oh my gosh, that's so much higher than what we deal with a fresh up or an internet opportunity. When you become a prospector, you become more confident. And I can tell you this, if you can confidently start prospecting, all the other things that happen in your role, especially let's say if you're in sales, it becomes so much easier to ask people for money because your confidence is high. Then on the referral, think about it, the ease and trust factor is there. So we need to look and figure out how the heck can I make my business work, my business plan every day from self-generated opportunities. Let's define it. Okay, got a pen. You've got some key fact areas here. Self-generated lead. That is something, it's an opportunity that you personally developed. It gives you complete power and empowerment and control. Circle of influence is based upon your personal life relations. So get your blinders off and think about people, say, maybe you're involved in sports, some type of church, recreation, you go fishing, whatever that is, and you don't have to feel like you're there, pushing your car sales world on consumers when they're in an environment of just trying to have some fun. I'm going to give you the exact word tracks to use that are soft, that are more conversation-based, but they're effective conversation-based. So it's not just benign conversation that gets you nowhere. It's going to get you a soft way to develop a lead. Service to sales is an enormous opportunity. You've got to take a look right now at what percentage of your service customers had not bought a car from you, meaning the dealership, or yourself personally, and go vice versa. What percentage of our sales customers never use service? And those are two huge areas to work from and lead generate. So, orphaned owners. Now, I always say, unfortunately, a lot of our current customers, they still have the salesperson employed at the dealership, but they think they're an orphaned owner because they've never heard from him or her. So an orphan owner is traditionally someone that bought a vehicle from us, but the salesperson is no longer employed at the dealership. That's a huge opportunity, and not just the person that bought, but the people that they know as well. So when you think about any of these areas, primarily something like an orphan owner base, don't do things old school, which was go and pull a list of orphan owners from, say, 4 years ago that bought because, quote, you think they're probably ready to buy again. You don't want to do that. You have no idea what has happened in the last 4 years that maybe they weren't happy with us. Maybe there were some issues with product. Maybe something was overpromised and underdelivered. So the smartest thing you can do if you're going to go into an orphan owner file is take the most recent person that purchased from your dealership, even if it was just last week. And I'm going to show you why in a very, very strong upcoming technique that a recent sold is still a huge opportunity of prospecting. Now, most of you today, I hope, are using things through most CRMs, which is called an equity alert, auto alerts. These are a great opportunity for people, but you need to know what to say. So we'll break down that script together. Now, my favorite one is the last one, and that's called incidental contact. So if there's any BDC managers on this webinar, when you're looking at staffing, I want you to use this as an example because you want to staff BDC reps that are all about incidental contact. Now let me explain what that is. Let's say that I picked up the phone and I was trying to reach Mark Smith, and I dial the number and a gentleman answers the phone, and I say, "Hi, may I speak to Mark, or is this Mark?" And the consumer or the human being responds, "You know what, no, you've got the wrong number. There's no Mark here." Right then, you've got a career choice. You can either say, "Oh, okay, thanks, bye," or you can say, "You know what? Oh, I apologize. Who am I speaking with?" "Oh, your name is Ralph." "Well, Ralph, did I catch you at a bad time?" "Hey, what kind of car do you drive since I have you on the phone?" That's the person you want. That's the person you need to be. You have to think about that incidental contact. That may have been the best lead you found all day long. You don't know if that person isn't actively shopping for a car. You can probably bank upon the fact that that incidental contact probably owns a vehicle and doesn't have anyone that takes care of his automotive needs. You know what? Sometimes I'm telling you, I work in call centers and I get just so bored, I just pick up the phone and dial wrong phone numbers just to see what would happen. But it's a great opportunity. So you need to learn to not just look at the obvious, get the blinders off. When you are interviewing reps, when you're interviewing salespeople, that's what I want to know. If you ran into a wrong phone number, do you have the guts, if I give you the skill set, to prospect them? Because it's a huge opportunity. So let's take a look at it. A cornerstone on lead generation in developing self-generated opportunities is knowing how to ask for referrals. Now, many of you may be thinking, yeah, I know how to ask. Most of the time, what I hear people say are things like, hey, do you know anybody looking, to buy a car? If you do, I'd love to help them. So we make these PR statements, but we don't really ask. Or we do things like, hey, if you ever know anybody, you know what, we do offer a referral program here. You can make some money. So if you know anyone, let me know. Again, it's a statement. What you want to do is you want to ask a question, a series of questions that will ensure that you develop a lead from that. So step number one, you can't get somebody to help you unless they've agreed. So step number one is, before you go, may I ask you for a small favor? Now, I have to tell you, in 28 years of asking people, hey, before you go, can I ask you for a small favor? I have never had anybody respond to me, no. I've never had that. Now, I've had an awful lot of people say to me, well, it depends upon what you need. Okay, so that's just a guarded person. And the minute you hear things like, well, it depends, you can almost feel that wall going up a little bit. Now, if you could create a perfect world, your world should be containing only open people. Because the minute you say to an open person, hey, before you go, can I ask you for a small favor? An open person says, sure, what do you need? And that's who you want. And actually, when you're interviewing to hire people, that's who you should also be hiring, is open-minded. Step number two is a PR statement. It's making a positive statement about your dealership, you, where you work. And I want you to keep in mind, in asking for referral, it is the way that you should be saying goodbye to your conversations. It should not be something that you use or do once in a while when you feel it's the right time. You've got to get in the mindset that every time you have a conversation with someone, you need to end the call by asking for referrals. If you put it into that type of an automatic motion, you won't second guess it. You'll do it all the time. And I want you to think, how darn competitive is it today in your arena? How many dealerships are just breathing down your throat every day? So many. And what's so bad is it's not just the ones in your local city. They're all across the United States breathing down your neck. So how do you sound better than the others? It's step number two. It's a PR statement about you and your dealership. And if you've got your pen, you need to write it down. You should say, here at the name of your dealership. So here at ABC Ford, I do pride myself in getting most of my business from repeats and referrals from people just like you. So again, here at ABC Ford, I do pride myself in getting most of my business from repeats and referrals from people just like you. Now think about it. What kind of a dealership did I just describe? Successful, yes. Confident, yes. Where do people want to buy cars from? Someone that's successful, confident, popular, sounds like they know what they're doing, that PR statement is worth its weight in gold. Step number 3 is asking the question. And it starts with a very powerful word, which is who. So who do you know? Write that down. So who do you know besides yourself if they're in the market? So who do you know besides yourself? Maybe a friend, maybe a neighbor, maybe a coworker. So you're segmenting thought process. So who do you know besides yourself? Maybe a friend, maybe a neighbor, maybe a coworker, someone who one of these days might also consider purchasing a newer pre-owned vehicle. Someone who one of these days, very soft, might also consider purchasing a new or pre-owned vehicle. Think about it, guys. You got to get out of words like, so who do you know that's in the market today? Who do you know that's going to buy a car soon? All of those little words will develop 0 referrals or very, very few. What you want to do is broaden it. In fact, I've always said to people, you'd be better off to say, who do you know in the next 20 years might need a car? Because that would give you a huge list of people to call. So get out of things like now, this week. That makes us sound like now, this week, or else I may be fired. So we don't want to do that. So who do you know besides yourself? Maybe a friend, neighbor, coworker, someone who one of these days might also consider purchasing a newer pre-owned vehicle. So do you think, you guys, when you ask this, do you think you get a lead, or do you think you get things like, I don't know anybody? What do you think would be the normal response from that question? I can tell you this, it's going to be, I don't know anybody, okay? So don't take that I don't know anybody as I don't know anyone. I want you to be prepared for it, because the I don't know anybody response from the third question there, or the third step, is really equated to something like I'm just looking. All right, have you ever gone into a retail store, clerk comes up to you and says, hi, may I help you? And you usually respond things like, no, I'm just looking. Now, I know for myself, I've actually said to a clerk, no, I'm just looking. And then the clerk walked away, and then I'm mad at myself because I actually needed help. And I'm like, why did I say no? Because it's a knee jerk. So when you say to somebody, hey, who do you know? And they respond, I don't know anybody. Take that in one ear and out the other. The I don't know doesn't mean I don't know. It's the I'm just looking. So that makes step number 4 the most important step of all. If you want to get a referral, guys, you've got to get to step number 4. Step number 4, write this down. Hey, that can be a tough question. That can be a tough question. Let me ask you an easier one. Okay, so that can be a tough question. Let me ask you an easier one. Of all the people you do know, who is most likely to be in the market next? So of all the people you do know, who is, emphasis on is, most likely to be in the market next? Do you know that more than 80% of the time you're going to get a referral if you use these exact words and you make it to step number 4? They're all psychologically written. Think about it. Are we human beings ego-driven? Yeah. All right. Some people, huge egos. All right. Are we competitive? Some people, fiercely competitive. That's the reason why these words are put in that order. The minute you say to an ego-driven, competitive human being, hey, that can be a tough question. In their mind, they go, that's why I couldn't get it. It was tough. So they soothe their ego. Then the next words will get you the lead, because you say to that competitive side, you know what? Let me ask you an easier one. Right away in their mind, they go, oh my gosh, this one's easy. Don't look stupid. Get it right. So, oh, I'm sorry. I've got to know here. We've lost sound. Did you hear that? See that, guys?
Yeah, it may just be that.
Okay.
We got it.
Everybody's okay? Okay, good.
I got a note to Joni, and my computer is working really slow, so I'm going to have slow reactions for this one.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right, but I think everybody
Okay, they're back.
down. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, sorry. I just didn't know if all of a sudden I was talking to myself. Okay. All right. So extremely important, guys. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, Step 4. When we end this webinar today, I can guarantee you if you go and ask 10 people, live, 10 people, you will have no less than 2 to 3 referral leads right now today. And I mean that sincerely, and I've got all the years of experience to tell you it will work. So go and ask 10 people today, and you will have 2 to 3 solid referral leads, which means you could change your day today. The problem is this, remember, asking 10 times can give you those 2 to 3 leads, but be careful. So many times we go back and we ask once, we get a I don't know anybody. We ask twice, I get the I don't know anybody. I ask 3 times and I get I don't know anyone. What do most people do? Even BDC reps, what do most of you guys do? They quit. We quit asking. So you can't, guys. It has to be the way that you end your calls. Which is why I've always said the number one reason to ask for referrals is not about getting a lead. That's the number 2 reason. The number 1 reason is if you ask for referrals in the manner I'm training you, then you're making a strong PR statement to everybody about where you work and who you are. That's huge. Now, I'm a realist, guys. I am. A lot of times you're going to run into people that have somewhat of a reluctance. They're not comfortable to give you a referral. In fact, I want you guys to look at your own selves and think, are you comfortable? Would you give the name and number of somebody? Because if you wouldn't, then we're going to have to start by training you and getting you to be open. So when you run into someone, you're using the word tracks 1, 2, 3, and you say, who do you know? And they go, I would never give the name of a friend out. I want you to be able to have a response. So much of where we go is based upon handling tough response, not the lay down. So when you hear, I would never give out a friend's name and number, I want you to step up. And you're going to step up with a word track that says this. Got a pen, guys? Write it down. All I want to do is call and introduce myself. All I want to do is call and introduce myself. Answer any questions or concerns, and let your friend know if and when they needed help, they'd have someone they could call. And then this last line is the hook. Now that wouldn't be too bad, would it? That breaks down the majority of people. So let's review that again. All I'd want to do is call and introduce myself, answer any questions and concerns, and let your friend know if and when they needed help, they'd have someone they could call. Now that wouldn't be bad, would it? And I'm sincere. Over 75% right there will go, you're right, it makes sense. And then you would just say, who's the first person I can help? Notice, not who's the first person I can grind for leads, but who can I help? Because that's what you're doing, is you're there to help people. If that doesn't break down that reluctance, in other words, they still respond to you, well, I'd still rather talk to my friend before I gave their name and number out, then all I want you to do is stay proactive. I would respond, you know what, not a problem. Do you think you'll speak with your friend later this afternoon? Great, then I'll give you a call later this evening to make sure that she's comfortable or he's comfortable for me to get that contact information. In other words, stay proactive. Don't do the, oh, okay, well then give your friend my name and number. I'll be over here in the corner waiting for my opportunities to happen. That's not what you're going to do, okay, guys? We're going to be proactive. So again, all I want to do is call and introduce myself, answer any questions or concerns, and let your friend know if and when they needed help, they'd have someone they could call. Now, that wouldn't be bad, would it? Okay,
hey, Joan,
so who's the first yeah.
Joan, just a quick question. At this point, these are questions we ask to everyone we speak with, or is it just people that have agreed to an appointment or who have bought a car or somehow have done business with?
Okay, good. Every person I speak with, that's in a positive light. In other words, if I'm speaking to someone that's having a service issue or something that is wrong, no, I wouldn't prospect them. If they had a bad experience, I'm not going to prospect them. But anytime I speak to someone, so if I take an internet lead, at the end of my internet lead conversation, I will prospect. If I call a unsold showroom traffic, I would prospect. Orphan donors, prospect. Service to sales, prospect. So every time you speak, don't wait until you sell them, or don't wait until you aren't able to sell them to prospect. The more proactive, the better.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, guys, let's take a look at gathering important necessary contact information. Let's say that you've stepped up for yourself and you're actually received a referral lead and you're all excited about it. So now you've got to get contact information. What's the most important phone number today? Now, I'm going to guess most of you are thinking cell phone. I have to tell you that, in my opinion, it's the work number. The most important phone number you need is work. And with that as your mission, I need to teach you how to get the work numbers, okay? So the reason I don't lean only on a cell phone number is that if you all took out your cell phone numbers right now, or your cell phones, I guarantee you all screen calls throughout the day, every day of our life. I know I do, we all do. So I don't want to be unnecessarily screened. Also, a work phone number. Think about it. Somebody's going to answer the phone. If you're working in a BDC center, what's the most difficult part of your job? It's getting a human being on the phone. So if that's the case, then where does somebody answer the phone? They answer it at work. And most people don't ride a horse to work or take public transportation. In most scenarios, they are driving a car, truck, van, or SUV. So there's an opportunity there if we know how to explore the opportunity. So the way that I always ask for contact numbers is this. Hey, is it best for me to reach you at work or on your cell? So those are the two choices we need. Don't say things like, what's your best number? Because it's always the worst number, I swear. I never catch them. So is it best to reach you at work or on your cell? Let's say the person responds, call me on my cell. Then I say, great, what's that number there? And automatically, for backup, what's your work number? What if you get the bump in the road where the person says, ooh, can't really take a personal call at work. Don't like to give my work number out. Now, I know, guys, everybody on this webinar, we hear that all the time. But I don't want you to take that and just say, oh, okay, then I'll just call you on your cell. Don't do that. Step up. The way you should respond when someone says, ooh, not comfortable to give out a work number, you should respond, really, where do you work? What do you do for a living? That tells you an awful lot about how, is it legitimate? In other words, maybe the person's a nurse, and when she's at work, she can't take her cell phone out or take a personal call. But what you respond from that is to say, really, where do you work? What do you do for a living? If they said to me, well, I'm a nurse over at Mercy Hospital, what shift do you work? I work 7 to 11. Okay, great. My word track would say, great. So if I need to reach you when you are at work, I will simply leave you a message. Therefore, when you have a break, you can give me a call back. Now, that is so proactive, you guys. Think about the difference. Can't get a personal call at work. Oh, okay, then I'll call you on your cell. Or, hey, can't get a personal call at work. Really, where do you work? What do you do for a living? Think about it. You're setting appointments. You're developing relationships. It's important to know what people do for work. And depending upon where you work, the odds are in your town, you've probably helped several people at the same place of employment. So you can start networking in that manner. So please don't take that pushback and end up with only cell phone numbers and potentially a home number, which most people don't have. Obviously, I need to get an email address. Never ask, is it okay if I can get your email? Just what is your email? Okay, direct. Now, if somebody says, nah, I'm not comfortable to give out my email address, you should respond, well, is saving money important to you? I'm still waiting to run into the person that says no, because that would be the one we'd want to sell a card to. But yeah, so if you're having struggles with emails, great. What's your email address? Oh, I'd rather not give that out. Really? Well, is saving money important to you? He or she's going to say yes. And then you can say, great, because that's how we communicate the majority of our specials through service and sales. Okay, so very important. Now let's take a look at another one, handling the reluctance to provide a spouse's number. If you've got your blinders off and you're communicating with human beings, you need to listen to words like we. Okay, so when you're listening to this conversation and you're trying to guide a conversation, you're going to hear things like, well, we were looking for this. We've been shopping for a new truck. We would like to come in and look at a car, blah, 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 blah. That we word is huge. So what you want to do is make sure that you get that other person's contact information. So when they say things like, hey, we, your response should be, who is the other part of the we? And if they say, that's my wife, then you should respond, great. Let me do this to help you both out. I would be happy to call your wife. Introduce myself and answer questions or concerns she may have. Let her know about the appointment that we're discussing. Is it best to reach her on her cell or her work? So that pattern for yourself needs to be something that's spontaneous. You use it constantly, all the way back and forth. Half the spouses may say, no, that's okay, I'll talk to my wife. The other half, I'm telling you, they'll go, sure, here's her cell phone number, give her a call. All right? And then all of you on this webinar are going to become prospecting, ninjas. So you're going to go out there, and then when you call the wife, confirm the appointment, you'll also ask her who she knows. So the person that asked that question earlier, when do you ask for a referral? When I called the wife to confirm that the appointment worked for her, I would also ask her for referrals at that time. Again, remember, the most important reason you're asking is it's a PR statement. These people are actively shopping and trying to decide where to purchase from. Most of our vehicles are all so much the same. Quality is so high. The one thing that really has to stand out for a consumer to make a decision where to buy is the quality of the humans they talk to at that dealership. So let's make that PR image strong, okay? Let's make sure that we show them verbally exactly who and what they're going to be working with. All right, there are key steps, guys. So let's say you start on your prospecting and you're asking everybody for referrals, and all of a sudden you gather a referral lead. When do you call them? Immediately. I know I've been around too many places where we got a referral lead, and then an inbound sales call came in, and then we did some follow-up, and all of a sudden the BDC rep forgot that they needed to call that lead ASAP. So you've got to call fast and furious. You don't know really where they are in the shopping mode, and the last thing you want to do is call a referral a day or two later, and they say, oh gosh, you should have called me yesterday. I just bought a car. So call immediately. Okay? The first 4 steps are always the same when you make an outbound call. The first 4 steps are always the same. Step number 1, identify you have the right person. In other words, may I speak to Mary? Or is this Mary? Step number 2 is getting the green light. In other words, did I catch you at a bad time? Do you have a moment to speak? If the person says, I am busy, do not push the conversation. Respond, when's a better time I can call you back? Step number 3, introduce yourself. This is Joni calling from ABC Customer Care. Step number 4, the reason I'm calling. Now you're calling a referral lead. So the reason you're calling is what? Recently, I had the opportunity to speak with a friend of yours in conversation. They mentioned you may be thinking about purchasing. You don't have to write all that down, guys, but what I do want you to write down is this. 3 little words. Is this true? When you ask that and then pause, you're going to get either the yes, which is the one you're hoping for, and then you start your fact-finding. If you get no, what are you going to do? I wish I could get your response, because no is the tough one. So you're calling a referral lead. The referral lead, all right, they answer the phone. You go, hey, I was talking to your friend. She said you may be thinking about buying a car. Is that true? And you get hit with the bam, no. What do? All right, write it down. Household prospecting is your lifeline. Household prospecting. All right, household prospecting is 3 questions. How many drivers are in the household? And how many vehicles? So how many drivers are in your household? How many vehicles? And of all the drivers in the household, who is most likely to be in the market next? Got it? So let's review it. Hey, the reason I'm calling, your friend said you may be thinking about buying a new car. Is that true? No, not now. No. Don't give up and don't think, what? Household prospect. Hey, that's okay. Tell me, how many drivers are in your household? And how many vehicles? And of all the drivers in your household, who is most likely to be in the market next? Keep in mind, guys, sometimes what happens is the lead shifts. In other words, Mary was thinking about buying a car, but then she and her husband got talking last night, and they decided that actually his truck had a lot more miles and he should probably buy something because he drives more. So the reason why you call the referral and you get that big fat no is because the lead shifted to the husband. But you won't be able to find that unless you know how to go with the shift, which is household prospecting. So many times I've called a referral lead, and then I'll ask them who they know, or excuse me, I'll ask them if they're in the market, and they'll be like, no. And then I go, how many drivers, how many vehicles? And they'll come back and say, oh, well, actually me. And I think maybe because it's softer, and they get a little bit of a fear factor when that first call happens. So they want to respond no to see if they can get rid of us. So household prospect. You're going to use it, and it's a wonderful technique. Works very well. Okay, so let's move on. Take a look at your circle of influence. The key steps I just went through, guys, for household prospecting. When do you use household prospecting? The how many drivers, how many vehicles? Let's go with equity. I outlined that as a hot lead for you. Equity source. We've got a great scripting for it, but a lot of times you run into a customer that has equity and they may say things like, well, you know what, my car's almost paid off, I want to keep my car. That's being hit with that bam in your face again. Where do you go? Household prospect. When a hot lead goes cold, let's say you're calling your unsold showroom traffic and the hot lead suddenly says, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to keep my car for a while. Where do you go? Household prospect. Let's say you're calling a service customer, service to sales. Okay, and that's a great opportunity. But the person's not really interested in trading or doing anything with their car they service with us. They love it. It's doing great. Where do you go? Household prospect. Orphan owners, household prospect. So in other words, anytime you run into what you thought or hoped was going to be a great opportunity, and then you're getting hit with the, not really, I'm in a stall, not really thinking about it right now, household prospect. You know, I always laugh. It's like when you look at the amazing opportunity in a service bucket, the service customers, just don't do it the way salespeople tend to do it. And if there's salespeople on the phone, don't get mad at me. But, you know, salespeople, when they run into service customers, face-to-face or on the phone, but it's always the same thing. It's like, hi, Mr. Customer, what car do you have in for service? Oh, a 2010 Traverse. Great. How many miles are on it? And you know, do you like it? Is it running well? And all those questions lead towards what I always said was like the movie Jaws. Remember when Jaws was coming and he was going to attack? It was like, bam, 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 bam. That's us when we call service. It's like, how many miles are on it? Bam, bam. Is it in good shape? Bam, bam. They know you're going for the kill, you guys. So go soft. Go soft. Hey, service to sales. You know what? Do you still own that? Or excuse me, you have a 2010 Traverse in for service? Wonderful. Tell me, how many drivers in your household? How many vehicles? And of all the drivers, who's most likely going to buy next? That's a soft way. That's a way to get conversation, and a conversation that will be productive for you and potentially lead you to a good opportunity. All right, so a service to sales script. Where do we get over calling stalls? Okay. All right, great. So service to sales. Exact scripting. The first four steps are the same, guys. Number one, identify. Number two, green light. So in other words, is this Bob? I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Introduce yourself. This is calling from, and the reason I'm calling is I want to thank you for being a service customer. Important. Was the work performed to your satisfaction when you came in? Because if it wasn't, trust me, the call's not going to continue in a prospecting mode. Are there any questions I could answer? And then really important, if you're in a BDC center, service customers, let them know you are calling to introduce the customer care team. So I always reference BDC as being in customer care. It's very soft, and it's certainly, you know, putting the customer number one in our mindset, which it should be. The reason I'm calling is I wanted to introduce customer care, let you know if and when you need help, you'd have someone you could call, give your contact information. So the beginning of that call is all about them. And then you shift and you start moving into a prospecting mode, but a soft one. Soft is household prospect, determining the best lead. If there is a lead, we're going to fact find, go for an appointment. And my question to all of you would be, so if you get this far in the call, how do you end the call? How would you end a service to sales call? You should end it by making what? Your PR statement. So before you go, may I ask you for a small favor? You know what? Here at ABC Ford, I do pride myself in getting most of my business from repeats and referrals. So at the end of that call, you're going to ask for referrals. Okay? Extremely, extremely important. When you do make appointments, guys, if you get somebody on the phone and you're making an appointment, a really great soft line, trial close line, if you've got your pen, I want you to write it down. A great trial close is to say, tomorrow, let's say my appointment's at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Hey, tomorrow at 4, would this be your first purchase from our dealership? That is a great line to use. And you can use it on any call, anytime you make an appointment. Obviously, if you know they're a past owner because you can see they bought 7 cars, you're not going to use it. But for people that you're not sure or it looks like they haven't, it's a great commitment question. Think about it. Hey, tomorrow at 4, would this be your first purchase from our dealership? What's the response? Let's say somebody says yes. Okay, what are they telling themselves? They're going to go out and buy a car tomorrow at 4. Okay, what if they say no? Hey, would this be your first purchase from our dealership tomorrow? No. What is that? That means they bought from you before. That's a repeat buyer. If you can get them in the door, 70% closing ratio. What's the worst thing you're going to hear if you say, hey, tomorrow at 4, would this be your first purchase? What's the worst thing you're going to hear? Hey, slow down. I didn't say I'm buying. I just started shopping. And then you need to step up and say, great, there's no better place to shop. If you're in a BDC position and you're listening to this and you don't sell the cars, in other words, you make appointments for salespeople, for managers, those are really important words to note in the CRM because it prepares them to say, hey, this person's not going to come in and just lay down. We need a stronger salesperson. So making an appointment in a BDC center is certainly our objective, but it's also to make an effective appointment. So those words to ask, that trial close is huge. Let's use it moving forward. All right, back to my favorite, effective incidental contact. All right, remember as I said, when is this used? Anytime you pick up the phone and you don't reach the right person, okay, wrong numbers, unavailable, anything like that. You want to leave a message with the consumer. Talk to the individual, but remember, the do not call registry came about for a reason. You've got to make sure you respect people's time and what's happening in front of them and their space. So if you pick up the phone and you're leaving a message for somebody at work, the person that takes the message, find out who they are, in other words, who am I speaking with, and then make sure that they've got time to talk before you start trying to share your message. In other words, by the way, who am I speaking with? This is Catherine. Catherine, do you have a few minutes to speak? She's at work. I've had people, they're receptionists, and I can hear the phone ringing left and right, and they're going, sure, what do you need? So get that respect, get that commitment. The minute you do, obvious factor, hey, you know what, I work over here at ABC Ford. What kind of car do you drive since I have you on the phone? Could be your best lead. Could be your best lead, you guys. Don't forget incidental contact. And if you've never tried it, do it. It is so fun and so empowering. Let's take a little gander here at our equity customers, okay? I know we're getting hopefully into the pattern here. The first few steps on an outbound call are the same. Step number 1, let's say the person's name is Peter. So I would ask, is this Peter? Step number 2, I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Step number 3, I'm introducing myself. This is Joni calling from ABC Toyota Customer Care. How are you? And step number 4 is your reason. Hey, the reason I'm phoning is I wanted to congratulate you. Your vehicle's in a positive equity status. Okay? Now, some people, when you say that, they go, what does that mean? That means what? Bottom line, your vehicle is worth more than you owe. So that is exciting. And we always say to the customers, hey, what if you could potentially buy a new vehicle today with little or no money down and keep your payments the same? Drive away in a brand new vehicle today. That would be great. But it's a lot about your enthusiasm, guys. If you don't feel positive about equity, don't call it. I can tell you, it is a plethora of opportunities. All right? So there's a bullet here. How do you win when there is no appointment? This is part of that blinders off. Let's say we're calling this equity customer. The equity is our focus. We want to get them back in. It should be a great lead. But in that conversation, they say to you, you know what, no. I like my car. I'm keeping my car. And you can't break that down. I don't want you to just give up. Hopefully you're all thinking, well, no, now I would household prospect. But let's say even after household prospecting, there's nothing. There is no selling opportunity. What should you do before you go to referral? What should you do? You should make them a service customer. Soft sell. In other words, let's say the equity customer said, no, I'm not really interested. I think I want to wait. I'm going to pay it off. It's almost paid off. And you can't change their mind. Then you should go to things like, well, you know what? If you're going to keep your car, let's make sure we maintain it. When's the last time you had an oil change? If they say to you, well, I don't need one. I had one done last month. Be proactive. Okay, not a problem. I'll call you next month and set it up for you. Okay, because we have great oil changes that save you a lot of money. So keep your foot in the door. Remember, win-win. If there is no appointment, make them a service customer. It also builds some credence into your conversation beyond just trying to see if they want to buy something from us. Think about it, guys. If you never, ever, ever help them buy another car, but they became a great service customer, and you call them every few months, and you help them with service, what do you think your chances of getting referrals would be? Oh my gosh, it's amazing. You have people that are walking out at work going, you know what, I have never bought a car from ABC Toyota, but there's a customer service rep that works there, and she calls me every few months, and I do all my servicing there. They're a great dealership. Wow. And of course, you're going to end your conversation by, the way we say goodbye today, is we're going to ask them for referrals, whether they give us a lead or not. Okay, so how do we overcome some stalls on setting appointments? I mean, let's face it, the minute that you're open 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, we kind of create this objection ourselves because consumers are thinking, well, I don't need an appointment. I'll just swing on by. Somebody's always there. So what is the top rebuttal? What should you say? Now, I always say, you know what? We work primarily by appointments only, not for our benefit, but for yours. Now, the next line is most important. With the current sale and promotion, we are so busy. I'd much rather have me waiting for you or my manager waiting for you than for you to wait for us. So let's go through that again. Okay, now, we work primarily by appointments only, not for our benefit, but for yours. With a current sale and promotion. Those words are huge. That paints a picture that this store is rocking. We have got people in and out, and things are really moving. You don't want to do paint the picture like, well, you know what, you can come in whenever you want. It's been really slow here. Things aren't working. It's all about creating an image. And the more people you talk about this huge sale promotion being busy, the more you're going to become busy. So again, I'd much rather have myself or my manager waiting for you than for you to wait for us. So is 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock better? End that statement by asking a question. When I give a question of choice, so is 2 o'clock good or 4 o'clock better? That makes them not have to decide, do I want an appointment? They're really just deciding about what? Do I want 2 or 4? So it breaks it down and makes a choice of time and not choice of an appointment. All right, guys, orphan owner contact, orphaned owner. First 4 steps are the same. Number 1, identify you got the right person. Number 2, get your green light. Number 3, introduce yourself and the reason for calling. So the reason for calling is very customer service driven. If you're in a BDC center, very, very customer service driven. Hey, the salesperson that had helped you is no longer with our dealership, but because we value you, I wanted to call and introduce myself and answer any questions and let you know if and when you need help. You got me. Do you have a pen? And give them your name and number. So again, the reason I'm calling you is the salesperson that had helped you is no longer with us, but because we value your business, I wanted to call and introduce myself. Answer any questions and let you know if and when you need help, you've got someone. Think about that. What a great verbal message. Wow, this guy's out there. I used to always laugh and call people and go, I've got some good news and bad news. Bad news, you're an orphan. Good news, I'll adopt you, okay? That's what they need. You know, it's the second largest buying decision they make in their life. It's so important that we actually, I think, treat it with a long-term respect and a long-term project in mind. I've always said, take a look, guys. You're in a BDC, you get an appointment, they come in, they buy. Are you really, really helping yourself and that household the way you should? You should be going back to the most recent appointment that you sold and make sure that you've household prospected. Derive the other drivers and vehicles' contact information and call and offer your services. Remember, you're in a BDC. Yeah, it is Business Development Center, but it's really a customer care team. You're there to help. And I don't want you to work so hard that you're getting one person in the door and it takes you forever. Let's work soft and also get their friends, neighbors, and other drivers in the household. You deserve it. All right, I've got, my goodness sakes, I think over 40 amazing, strong power phrases that I'm happy to email to people that are on this webinar as participating. So these are great rebuttals for you. I am going to give you a couple of them right now, but 40 is way too much for us to cover. So let me just give you probably one of the best ones that we use on a rather continual basis is number 1, which is, if you got a pen, rebates at an all-time high, interest rates at an all-time low. I've seen them as low as 0%, and your car will never be worth more than it is today. This is when that guy's stalling with you. You know what? Rebates at an all-time high, and interest rates at an all-time low. I've seen them as low as 0%. And think about it. Your trade will never be worth more than it is today. So that's a great way to get over that stall. Like, I don't know if I really want to do anything right now. It's really important that you, all of you guys, have rebuttals, have a way of creating a sense of urgency that when you're encountering that human being that says, you know what, I just don't think I want to do anything right now. I don't want you to sit dead air on that phone. So, again, attach to me at the end of this, and I will get you those 40 because they're amazing. All right, how do you set your daily work plans? All right, there's a priority of contact. First person and first group that you should contact when you come to work is clearly any appointment confirmations. Now, if you have one phone number on your appointments that are unsold appointments, you're really hurting yourself. So make sure that you do a really thorough job, as I was teaching you earlier, is to get a work number and a cell number. Okay, very important. With an email address. Do you text confirmations? If you don't, you need to. So appointment confirmation is critical. We work hard to get commitment and appointment. We want to make sure they're going to show. Step number 2 on priority of contact will be to call all missed appointments. And you should call 72 hours back. In other words, don't just look at yesterday. Always work within that 72-hour window back. Okay? And you should be calling, say, a missed appointment and making an attempt 3 times in a day to reach them. Only 1 message a day. But you're going to pick up the phone, you're going to call a missed appointment. If you don't reach them first thing in the morning, I'd leave a message. I would try midday, but I would not leave another message, and I would try before we closed. And I would do that 3 days in a row. So you've got appointment confirmation, you've got missed appointments. The next group would be any referrals. Anytime you've actually obtained a verbal referral lead, be all over that, okay? That's huge for you. You stepped up, you asked, you got a lead. Don't just leave it there. You've got to get contact. So 3 is referrals. The next would be anything in a USST, which is unsold showroom traffic. And I want you to answer, which you can't, but how quickly do you call unsold showroom traffic? If you're waiting 24 hours, you're waiting way too long. The first person or the first people that you call would be somebody in customer care, an unsold floor opportunity. You should call within an hour or 2 of them leaving, faster than the competition. So again, take a look at your dealership's unsold showroom traffic. Are the majority of your unsold showroom traffic leads 1 phone number based? If you only have 1 phone number on the floor, they're hurting everybody too. They're hurting themselves. Unsold showroom traffic, in order for you to get contact rate, needs to have phone numbers, and that means 2, sell and work. So I've got appointment confirmation, missed appointments, unsold showroom traffic, referrals, then unsold showroom traffic. And then I start working into what is considered a past lead bucket. And that's going back more than 72 hours. So I start going back, say, the last 30 days of past internet, past phone-ups that have not sold, and I work that bucket. Clearly, we all know in our daily work plan, if there's an internet lead, it's first response that wins most of the time, so you have to respond immediately, within a minute, 2, fast, furious. And phone-ups are close to what things we're responding to right away. After past leads, I move to equity, then I move to service to sales, then to orphan owners. I can tell you best sources for top results are really going to be tied into the contact information. So I believe in a 45-minute rule. In other words, if you're a BDC rep and you're listening, or you're a BDC manager, or you're a salesperson, it doesn't matter. Be aware of human nature. If we're sitting on the phone, you've got a rep yourself, you're sitting on the phone and you're making outbound calls, and you're calling, and all you're doing is leaving messages, you're getting nowhere. If you're turning the corner and it's been 45 minutes and that's what your life is, stop. You've got to call a more effective source. And that doesn't mean you give up on the source. It's just some days, sometimes, certain sources work better than others. So it's not like I can tell you, oh, always, the best source to call always is unsold showroom traffic. Some days it's not going to be as good. What you need to do is balance it within a time period, 45 minutes maximum. Most dealerships, when you look at these lead sources in equity, would have more than 1 phone number. So the sources you work with more than 1 contact number will probably give you a higher rate of contact. So that would be a great balancing act for yourself too. What's your show ratio? If you're doing outbound work, if you're doing outbound contacting from equity to orphans to service, half the people that commit will show up. If you're working things such as referrals, something that's more along the line of USST, you're going to get more to the 60% show rate. right? But consistently, it's going to be a minimum of 50. If you're looking at 30, 40% shows, there's other issues, and I would love to help you. Now, when do you call a missed appointment? All right. I said when somebody leaves and they haven't bought, we're calling within an hour or two. What about a missed appointment? So I was supposed to be there at 10 o'clock this morning, and it's what? 10:10, 10:15? I want you to call immediately. Okay, immediately. Not as a phone harasser, but I want you to call as somebody that really is caring. Like, I want to make sure that you're okay and you made it into the dealership. All right? Because people do get busy and things and priorities can change, but you need to call immediately to a missed appointment. Also keep in mind, if somebody makes an appointment, let's say you're talking to them this morning at 10 a.m., and they tell you they'll be in tonight at 6, I want you to call and reconfirm because that's still multiple hours away. Now, if I called you at 5 and you said you'd be there at 6, I wouldn't call at 5:30 as a reminder. However, at 6 o'clock, you're not there, meaning I look in the CRM, I don't see you noted. By 6:10, I would call just to make sure that everything happened okay, you were on your way in. Little note here. If you do call someone that is a missed appointment or it appears to be missed, now I work in some stores where salespeople don't log everybody in the CRM and on and it goes. So I never, ever, ever wait for a salesperson to tell me, if somebody came in or what happened. Go right to the source. Go to the consumer. And if you call someone and it looks like they missed their appointment, I want you to apologize if we missed them. Okay? Don't say, where were you? That's what I used to say when I sold. What you should say is, I want to apologize if we missed you. With the sale and promotion, we were so busy. I just want to make sure that if you came in, you were taken care of properly. Notice I'm always using those words with the sale and promotion. It's always about creating this huge image that we've got so much going on. Not, hey, where were you last night? It was so dead, we didn't sell anything. I was really hoping you would have showed up. Because that makes a person feel like, I don't think I want to head over to that dealership. It sounds pretty scary. All right, let's look at the control. You've got so much control, you guys, if you take it. I was working in a store, this is a true story, and I was taking live inbound sales calls in front of a group. And there's obviously a road to success on a phone up, and there's 6 steps. So I was taking phone ups, and I was doing a really good job. And then I got a phone up that rang in live, and it was awful. You've all had these, where you've had the toughest customer, where whatever you asked, they wouldn't tell you anything, and they're almost kind of rude. So that's the guy that I had. I called him like the phone up from I don't know, not from a good place. Anyway, he was really borderline rude. So I'm taking this call in front of like 30 people, and I'm following my 6 steps to mastering a phone up, and I couldn't get anywhere with this person. He wouldn't give me his name, no numbers, no appointment, nothing. So the last step on a phone up is what? If you do it in a proactive way, the last step on a phone up, which is what this whole webinar is about, is asking for a referral. So think, would you have asked this jerk for a referral? I mean, he gave me nothing. I had nothing to lose, so of course I asked him. And if you think about it the other way, let's say that the phone up went great, and you had a name, you had phone numbers, you had an appointment, the call was going beautifully. Should you ask that person? Well, of course, because why? You have everything going in your favor. It's working wonderfully. So in this scenario, I asked this jerky guy for a referral. I stepped up for myself. So I said, hey, before you go, can I ask you for a small favor? You know what? Here at ABC Ford, we do pride ourselves in getting most of our business from repeats and referrals. Thankfully, not from people like you. Anyway, would you believe he gave me a lead? It was the most amazing thing. I remember it forever because I never thought he would. He gave me a lead. He said, you know what? Call Maria. I used to work with her at this number, and gave me a phone number. And myself and the entire room, we were all like aghast, like, what? Never thought it. So what do you do as soon as you get a referral? You pick up the phone and you call him, right? So I immediately picked up the phone and I called him right away. Well, Charlie answered the phone. It was United Airlines baggage claim. So I said, hi, Charlie, may I speak to Maria? And what do you think he responded? There's no Maria here. So in other words, the jerk gave me a fake referral. Wow. What would you do? I mean, most people would just hang up the phone going, this stinks. But you know what? What would you do? Think about it, guys. This whole hour, what's it about? Taking the blinders off. Charlie probably didn't ride a horse to work. Charlie was an opportunity. So what should you do? Prospect Charlie, okay? Don't get frustrated by the fact that you got misled by some jerk that gave you a wrong lead. Who cares? I have to tell you, I didn't even have to prospect, Charlie. I explained why I was trying to reach this fictitious Maria. I told him where I was calling from, and Charlie said, you know what, Joni? I've been thinking about leasing a new truck. Oh, my gosh. Charlie was a laydown. Charlie made an appointment to come in that afternoon at 4:30 to the dealership. I got to ask you guys, should I ask Charlie for a referral on the phone now or wait till he shows up and ask him then? We have been based, our industry, so much on waiting until he showed up, and that is absolutely not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is be proactive. So I asked Charlie for a referral. I said, Charlie, look forward to seeing you at 4:30, and before you go, can I ask you for a small favor? You know what? Here at ABC Ford, we pride ourselves in getting most of our business from repeats and referrals, so who do you know? You know what Charlie responded? He did the way most people do. He said, Joni, that's a great question. You know what? When I get there today, I'll have a couple names for you. Now, I accepted that. I said, you know what, Charlie, look forward to seeing you then. I physically met him when he arrived at the dealership. I sat him down with a wonderful referral form that my company has, that our clients use, and it works so well. So I sat him down. I said, Charlie, it's going to be a couple minutes while we're pulling that truck around for you. Hey, there's one thing all my customers do for me at this time. They give me the names and numbers of 3 people that also one of these days might buy. I gave him a referral form. I left him alone. I came back. I said, Charlie, the truck is here. He gave me 2 referrals on the piece of paper. Charlie drove the truck. Charlie bought the truck. I called the 2 leads on the piece of paper. One of them said, I'm not interested. I hope to make him a service customer. Other 2 lead, he made an appointment. At the end of that day, we sold Charlie the wrong phone number from the jerk phone up, and we sold his friend 2 trucks. And why? Because the blinders were off. So when's a good time to ask? When's a good time to ask for referrals? I've always said when you're awake. So if you come to work awake, you got part of it right over the chute. You're right there. So you want to sell more. I know you do. I know you want to appoint more. I know if you're in a BDC, you want to make more appointments. You want more people to show up. You want more people to buy. You have to create a consistent stream of customers. When you get tired of all the ups and downs and all the leads that are saying the same thing, guys, understand. Think about the human element here. People would love to have somebody help them with their automotive needs. Step up and be that person. So if you're looking at it and thinking, where do I begin with all of this? If it's on an outbound effort, you take the most recent person that you spoke with, okay, that either you helped purchase or hasn't bought yet. But go more with timing, most recent. That's going to give you a much more fresh conversation than trying to pull back people from archives of 2008, because 2009 maybe they're going to buy. Don't do that. Think smart. Look at where the best contact numbers are for yourself. Where are we going to get a higher rate of conversations to occur? Right? And notice and embrace the fact that you're offering assistance. You're not grinding for leads. And the more that you can believe that, then my gosh, the art of prospecting it's a piece of cake. But it is so empowering, can be so empowering to you as a BDC manager, to your BDC reps, to salespeople. Okay? Guys, I can tell you, I've walked the walk for many years on it, and it works. So I'd like to answer some questions that people may have.
Sure.
Tell me how I can assist you.
Okay. Again, everybody, if you want, we have several questions here, but if you think of something you'd like to ask Joni, send it in by chat, and we'll get to it in the time we have left. A couple of basic questions, Joni. First one is, how many people should we, this is a very basic one, but how many people should be in a BDC? How do we know how to staff up?
Okay, you mean like how do you create the formula?
Yeah, is there some sort of a ratio or template that we would look at?
Sure. Okay, one of the easiest ways to gauge it is that I believe a BDC rep is accountable for a certain level of outbound dial effort. Okay, so that means that for me, a BDC rep is supposed to dial 17 times outbound in an hour. Now this is, I know it sounds very anal, but I perfected it through these years. So at 17 dials outbound, that should take about 30 minutes of a BDC rep's hourly workload. So I need to be able to say that if I look at the amount of internet leads that I have on a daily basis, on an average on a Monday, on a Tuesday, the amount of inbound sales calls I have, do I have the manpower that can handle that and still allow them 30 minutes to do what? You have to mind your database. You have to do the proper follow-up. If you don't have enough staffing to allow that, then all you're going to do is have a team of BDC reps that cherry pick, that sit and wait for the hot stuff. And if you want, I know you all do, but in order to have a BDC that is really, really worth its weight, 30% of your solds are self-generated. That's how you know you are clocking on all cylinders. So when you do your daily report, and you look at what we sold today, you've got to keep that benchmark of saying, how much did we actually go out and self-generate? And track it, guys. Track it with your ROI, because that's a huge way. Owners will love you forever. So you've got to allow 30 minutes of a BDC rep's ability to make outbound calls, follow-ups, prospecting. And that's going to take at least, like I said, 30 minutes for 17 dials.
Okay. And you've given us what you expect in terms of outbound calls. What's a good production metric in terms of results for a BDC rep? How many appointments should we set?
Okay, good. Okay, good. BDC reps, again, if you worry what you can control. In other words, I'm a BDC rep. The one thing I know I can control is my outbound dials. So if I dial 17 times outbound, that will force about 3 to 4 live conversations. If I get 3 to 4 live conversations, I should result in 1 appointment. 1 appointment an hour on an outbound effort is a minimum standard for a BDC rep at a 50% show. If they do that, and they do that on a daily basis, each BDC rep in your department should be a 20-unit-a-month person or more. And I've got a great 90-day progression that I'm happy to send that shows 30 days where my performance should be, 60 days, and by 90 days truly they should be at 20 units. If they're not at 20 units, potentially wrong people. Training, I don't know how you provide your training and so on, but that's how you need to pace it. So if I had 6 reps, I'm thinking at the end of my day, I'm going to have 120 units out of this team.
Okay, and everybody, we will be giving Joni's contact information shortly so you can ask her for that information that she's offered. How do you feel about the use of data mining tools like Auto Alert in order to identify equity and service customers?
I think they can be amazing. I truly do. There's a million of them. Just make sure, it's funny to me because I keep running into clients where people are paying different dollar amounts left and right. So make sure it's something that's affordable, but if used, I think it's a great tool. I always feel bad that we don't seem to know as much as we should about our customers. So it's really nice to be able to have information that's purified that guides me to sound like I know left hand and right hand. So I think it's a wonderful tool. Again, if you use it, it's just work your BDC team within those windows of productivity. In other words, don't have them come to work and work in their daily task, because daily tasks can keep them very unproductive. So they should do is they move back and forth. So maybe I spend 45 minutes a day on equity. Now, if it's working really well for me, I may even put 2 hours into it, but I won't do more than that. Because if I do that, I'm ignoring what? Recent unsold showroom traffic, missed appointments. So their day should be, to me, it's an exciting day. It's constant movement of opportunities. Scripts change, avenues change, but bottom line for me, I have to have at least 1 live solid appointment outbound that I generated. I also have to generate 2 referral leads during my shift. That's huge, guys. You have to put a standard of self-generation, because if you don't and you don't hold them accountable, then we're going to be just frustrated. So they need to be able to say that, hey, I work in teams. They earn the opportunity for the hottest leads, and they earn it by keeping their dials up, by getting their 1 appointment an hour, and by generating their referrals every day. If they do that, they get to stay in the hot lead bucket, which is the fresh stuff, which is easiest to appoint.
Okay. Next question. In the audience, I guess it's fair to say that for people in the audience, the idea of generating referrals through the BDC is a little new. It's an extra step. Is there any difference in pay? Is there anything that you add on for people?
Big time. Gosh, I feel bad if this is something new for them. Here, when you guys move forward, when you hire in a new BDC rep, please do yourself a huge favor. Make it the first thing they learn, okay? The first thing they should learn is prospecting. The first thing they should learn is data mining, because then they don't ever second guess it. They don't, take a call and think, well, should I ask or not? We never used to do that. Now, moving forward, sure, the least amount of money should be paid for the easiest things. Internet and phone up, my goodness sakes. Most of those are pretty darn easy to a point. They're calling saying I'm looking for a car. But if I can take a phone up, and at the end of the phone up, I ask them who else they know, and they give me a lead, and I call, and they get them in, and they buy, bingo. So I pay $75 up to $100 for self-generated all day long. Whereas on internet and phone ups, we pay $25 is recommended. So they make a lot more money. We also have some really great pay plans where these are for people that are like the veterans, the top level achievers, where if they start moving into, say, 40% of their solds per month are self-generated, they can pick up extra dollar amounts because they're keeping their eye so strongly on that important mark.
Okay. And Joni, you've offered people the 40 the 40 statements
power phrases.
Overcome obstacles or
Yep.
overcome the stall. How do
Yep.
people get in touch with you if they have follow-up questions or would like to take advantage of getting other information?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I think it's on my last little slide here. It is. It'll be up there in just a second. It has my email and my cell phone, and text me.
Okay.
What I put together is, a grouping of power scripts, the ones that we, walk through, and the power phrases and so on. Okay?
Right. Great. That has been most of the questions here. How do I get some suggested scripts?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, once they have it, it's a cornerstone of role-playing within the area of getting them comfortable. So, true prospect, or is there more questions?
No, that's the end of the questions. But everybody, if you want the information about how to get the word tracks and the other information, hang on. We'll be giving that to you shortly.
Yeah, I'll be right there in just a second. Okay, so I believe I touched on it, real lightly, but a third of your business from a BDC should be self-generated. All right, I have clients truly, they are selling over 100 more units, and these are self-generated opportunities, which is amazing. So it starts with the baseline, as I said, of just beginning to ask. You take a look at it and say, if you've got a BDC rep that's making, I don't know what you pay, $10 an hour, $12, whatever it is. If I make $10 an hour, that rep needs to be able to see that they can make $20 an hour. And that pathway, which is obtainable, guys, and I've got them all over everywhere, it's obtainable as long as they take the leadership role of self-generating. Right? I consider it a lifeline to your success. So I am happy to provide, you guys take a look, here's my cell phone, 847-612-2128. I'm a great, if you want to send me a text with your contact information, shoot me an email, jstuker100@sbcglobal.net. I'm happy to send them out, and I'll shoot them out this afternoon. I did put together a great on-site training package at a hugely reduced rate for these dealer edge people. And I guess the main thing I wanted to just say before we sign off is two things I sincerely believe in. Never lose your self-respect or your sense of humor, because it's so fun to laugh through some of these phone scenarios. And my favorite mantra, if it's going to be, it's up to me. So I want everybody to have a great day and go ask 10 people for referrals and get your process started. Make yourself proud and make me proud, okay?
Okay, one other question, Joni. This is
oh, no.
It's an easy one. This came up actually yesterday.
Okay.
Does your firm, you and your associates, you do just telephone skills training?
Yes, we do, all day long. Yes.
All right, because that's something that comes up fairly often here at Dealer's Edge.
Yep, absolutely.
Not specifically BDC, it's just how to handle yourself on the telephone.
Yeah, that's where I started. That's my first decade of my life, was just training salespeople and service personnel. Woo-hoo.
Okay. Well, everybody,
all right,
thank
good.
you. I want to say, just remind everybody that you've got Joni's email and phone numbers, and we encourage you to contact her to get the scripts and the power statements, as well as to ask any other questions you have. As I said, I hope you took notes. There was a lot of excellent information in today's workshop, and it would be beneficial, I think, to go back over the recording, because if you listen closely, you can hear the exact word tracks being used, the exact scripts, and how they're used. And everybody, a reminder that the contact person from your registered site will receive information tomorrow morning about how to access that recording. and you may use it for yourselves, and feel free to share it with other people in your dealership and dealership group. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. We had nearly 100 people registered, 100 sites registered, and actually many more times that in the audience. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Special thank you to Joni Stuker of Owner Connect.
Welcome.
For taking the time to share her expertise and for putting today's presentation together. Thank you, Joni. And
thank you, guys.
I am Mike Bowers of Dealer's Edge saying goodbye. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Thank you.